Hi guys, hey, Mr. Bills here. Now we're going to be drawing a shoe. Some of you at school will be drawing it live. Others at home might be drawing it from a photo that I took of the same shoes that we have in class. But what we do first is we use our angle finder. And this ruler represents a horizontal line that you can then start to just draw some of these basic angles. And we've done this before in that room that we drew, but you can see how when I lay my pencil in midair with one eye closed, I can see that the general angle for the bottom of that shoe kind of goes up at that angle, and you can kind of see that triangle down here, that triangle right down in this space as that negative space. So if you get the angle, look for that negative space. A good thing to do at first might be to draw a line going straight across the page that represents that ruler. Then you can start to compare to that. Now when you start going around, if I have an angle finder that's going straight up, again I can see negative space between the pencil and the shoe, or I can angle it that way a little bit and copy that angle. Look at the negative space underneath my pencil, that open space between the pencil and the shoe. Check out that angle. This one's parallel. From the shoelaces down to the toe, that angle changes a little bit. So all those angles you can do first. During the drawing, I'll show you a couple tricks on how to make it look a little more three-dimensional and going around the side. But we'll do that at the next part of the video. See those stripes right there? Okay, you can see where the shoelace goes here and there. I'm going to ask you to draw each one of those shoelaces. And again, trust your angle finder. See that shoelace right there, it does not go straight up and down. It goes slightly that way. This one's pretty close. This one's slightly different. Then the other ones kind of go off in a different direction. And remember, when you do your angle finder, you want to make sure you don't want to tip your pencil forward. A lot of people will just do this, literally put it on the shoe. And that's not how you do it. You have to do it just by thinking of your pencil as a windshield wiper. It just goes left and right, and you find where your angle finder covers up or represents that angle. See, there's one right there, this part of the shoe right there I'm pointing at with my eraser. So just that represents, that flatness represents your paper. Okay, your paper's flat, so you have to kind of keep your angle finder flat as well. All right, I'll get into the drawing of the shoe, then I'll finish it in hyperspeed like we've done before, and we'll go for it. All right, when we look at this shoe, we're also going to be measuring things and how big they are compared to each other. And there's a really easy way to do that. You just use your little thumb and your finger. And all you have to do is put your thumb and finger right between you and the shoe. And again, if you close one eye, it's better. And I'm measuring the distance between the heel and where the shoestrings start. So I'm going to go like that. And all I have to do is keep my hand steady and just move it right here. And the area of the shoelaces is pretty darn close to the area of the opening. I can measure the back of the shoe, just in space. I'm not close to the shoe. I can measure the back and see how big that is compared to the opening of the shoe. And if you keep your hand nice and steady, another way to do this is to use your pencil. A lot of people do this. There's the tip of the eraser is the beginning, and you can slide your thumb down until you hit the bottom of the shoe, right about there. Then you just turn your hand carefully, keeping it at the same distance from your eye. And see, that's kind of the same. And I could just go down here. That's kind of the same. Another thing we can do that measurement in a lot of different places, wherever you want to. Another thing we can do is line things up with a vertical and horizontal line. Check out that vertical line. And what I'm going to do is compare where this spot is to the equal spot right here. Those are the two same places on the shoe, but they're in different places. Now I'm going to put my pencil right in front of the front one, and I can see that the back one is higher and to the left. So it goes higher and over to the left farther, right over there. I can do the same thing, let's say right here, where this is. I can put my pencil right there, and I can see that where it disappears over here, is also higher and way over there to the left farther. So that kind of thing can happen all over the place, and you can do it with lots of different measurements. You could measure the space between the this little bump right here and the bottom of the shoe, and compare that. Let's get that. Compare that to how big the shoe is down here. And gosh, we have a lot of kind of equal things. So we can do that inside of the drawing as well as we're working. And that'll help make it much more accurate and look much more like the shoe is turned in space there. All right, we'll have another video connected to this one. All right, here we go. I switched from drawing that shoe I was just pointing at to drawing one of the shoes that you're going to do in class, or one of the ones that you're going to do online if you're doing this at home. And I think it'd be just as well because I can show you the shoe and what I'm thinking rather than having to switch the camera and look at the actual shoe. Okay, first thing we want to do is establish the size. We want this to be a nice big drawing. And this is just a regular piece of paper, and I want you to make it almost as big as you can on this piece of paper. So when I'm looking at the back of the shoe here, I want that to be way over here. Okay, and remember, I can tell that this is kind of straight up and down, but there are a couple little lumps and bumps, but we're not worried about that at first. And the toe, I want the toe also to be way over here by the edge of the paper. And I'm just going to make a guess at how big the shoe is at this point. Okay, that's just size. Now I can start to get into some angles and things. And I will tell you on the Google Slides, when you see these shoes, I'm going to have several like big bold lines that kind of go around the shoe. That represents what we were doing with a pencil, what I was just showing you in the first two parts of this video. Okay, so now I've already got that line back there. Now I can start to talk about this angle right here for the bottom of the shoe. And again, I can pretend or imagine that this ruler is the bottom of my paper, or actually what I'll do, since the shoestring comes down a little bit, let's make that line my ruler, and it goes straight across the page. Okay, so I can compare things to that line. Don't worry about it as a ruler, just think of it as a line to work from. All right, now I can take that angle, okay, and again, it's very much like we did with the actual shoe, and I'm just going to take that angle and just kind of pop it right over here. I just didn't move my wrist at all, and I'm just going to draw that angle. I'm not drawing any details yet. We'll get there. And the idea with this video is you're going to watch part of the video, then do some drawing, then watch another part of the video, and then do some drawing again. All right, so this is a curve, but if I had to give it one angle, it would kind of be in there. I know later I'm going to curve it. So let's just take that angle now. And notice my two papers are lined up with each other. They're not like that. That makes a big difference also. That angle, I'm just going to put it right about there. And again, I might be a little bit off, but that's pretty darn close. Let's see, what other angle can we do? So let's go across the top up here. So if I took from this corner to that corner, and I went right there. Whoop, right there, just laid it on the table. And I'm gonna, again, guess at it at this point. Now I know there's a little bump out here, but we're just laying in the basic angles. There's a kind of an angle from here to here. And you can see that there might be a little bit of negative space, but we'll get to that also in a minute. So there's an angle that I can kind of copy. So there's an angle on my drawing. There's an angle. And again, this part of the drawing is kind of lightly done. There's an angle right there. And that's practically straight up and down. So I'm going to practically go straight up and down. Now that may not be the perfect placement, but again, we're going to get there. And there's a general angle to the back of the shoe back here. My camera is going in and out of focus. Sorry, guys. And that's, whoops. And that's just about right there.
which is kind of parallel to this. So I can just do that. And I know, I can tell intuitively that it's going to get a little bit narrower there. So that's an okay size. That's pretty darn big on my piece of paper. Now I want to start looking at negative spaces and trying to capture a few of those. So if I went from, let's do this one. So if I took my pencil and let it just barely touch the back of the shoe, you can see that little piece of negative space. So I'm going to try to capture some of that negative space. Okay, there's kind of the opposite of negative space here. If I took that angle and there's a little bump outside of it. So if I drew a line to connect those two, there's a little bit of a bump outside of that. And again, these are things that I might have to change a little bit, but right now we're just kind of establishing a base to work from. There's that line that we took, that angle, and there's again another little piece of negative space right under there. So I'm going to take that little slice and put it right there. Let's see, any other negative? Oh yeah, we can go down here and start to think about this negative space where the toe, that little space right there underneath the toe of the shoe and between that and the ruler. So right here, I'm going to start to let that curve up, and I want to try to, oh, I forgot this one. Check this one out. Where the sole is, that little spot right there. There's almost like a little flat spot right there that I need to try to put in right about there. Now I can look at how that curve is and how it kind of flattens out, and then it's going to kind of go up into that back part of the shoe. All right, now on the neck, I want you to try to just do this first. Then we're going to start to apply more of these things inside. So see if you can get here and then watch the next video.